Perfect. Greetings and grace. I pray you are well today. I pray you're excited. We are going to get into the times, continuing on in the book of Ecclesiastes, and we're talking about planting versus uprooting. Let's get on into it. All right, so we are in, of course, Ecclesiastes chapter 3. I'm going to read it again, and then we're going to get into planting versus uprooting. A time for everything. There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to uproot. A time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. What do workers gain from their toil? I have seen the burden God has laid on the human race. He has made everything beautiful in its time. I'm saying that again. He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity to the human heart. Yet no one can fathom what God has done from beginning to end. I know that there is nothing better for people than to be happy and to do good while they live, that each of them may eat and drink and find satisfaction in all their toil. This is the gift of God. I know that everything God does will endure forever. Nothing can be added to it and nothing taken from it. God does it so that people will fear him. Whatever is whatever is has already been, and what will be has been before, and God will call the past to account. And I saw something else under the sun. In a place of judgment, wickedness was there. In a place of justice, wickedness was there. I said to myself, God will bring into judgment both the righteous and the wicked, for there will be a time for every activity, a time to judge every deed. I also said to myself, as for humans, God tests them so that they may see that they are like the animals. Surely the fate of human beings is like that of the animals. The same fate awaits them both. As one dies, so dies the other. All have the same breath. Humans have no advantage over animals. Everything is meaningless. All go to the same place. All come from dust, and to dust all return. Who knows if the human spirit rises upward and if the spirit of the animal goes down into the earth? So I saw that there is nothing better for a person than to enjoy their work, because that is their lot. For who can bring them to see what will happen after them? All right. You already know. Greetings. Secure your path in just 3 steps. I myself knew a piece of my purpose, but I lacked the depths of my vision. I knew that I would make an impact, but I did not feel significant because I didn't know how to achieve this and actually make money online. Now I exercise the confidence of my purpose, execute my strategies for more impact, and I feel more fulfilled making money as a result, helping other educators do the same as me. Some have even left their 9 to 5. Specifically, this year, I want to help 1,000 people discover their purpose in depth, strategize their impact, and make money online organically with the right information and guidance straight, no chaser. Go to online.theetablueprint.com right now so that you can be confident in your purpose like me and no longer lost on your path. My name is Imani Allen and I own Priceless Faith Productions, where your impact can become omnipresent. 10x, baby! All right. So now we are going to get into, yes, you guessed it, definitions. We're going to talk about plant and we're going to talk about uproot. So we're searching, plant, to put into the ground, for growth, to furnish with plants, to set in the mind, to establish. Come on, etymology. You guys, by the way, again, I go to etymology-online.com. I love this one. To set in the mind, to establish, a sprout, any vegetable production, a child, the tools or materials of any trade or business, an organized living body, destitute of sensation, a small vegetable, an herb, or shrub. Okay, all right, skirt. To put or set in the ground, for growth, to set that it may increase as the germ of anything, to set firmly, to fix, to settle, to fill or adorn with plants. I really love to put into the ground, for growth, to furnish with, right? To furnish with plants, to set in the mind, to establish. Come through, God. Okay, so hold on a second. We're going to go to uproot, because we want to keep these words and we want to keep these definitions in mind. Uproot, to tear up by the roots, to tear up by the roots, to destroy utterly. All right, so we're talking about verse, I want to say it's still verse 2, but we will call this like verse 2b, which is a time to plant and a time to uproot. And the reason why we're talking about this is because we're talking about the times, and there is a time for absolutely everything, and we need to be mindful of what each time and season that we're in and what time it actually represents. It could represent one thing, it could represent multiple things. And we need to be more spiritually aware of where God has called us on our journey concerning the purpose He has willed for us. All right. I hope that makes sense. We're going to get into it. If you have any questions, feel free to drop in the chat and we'll talk more about it. So let's talk about planting, right? I pulled up I pulled up a couple of well, really actually this one, because the other one I'm gonna break it down in a different way because I didn't really care for the stages that they gave and everything like that. So we're gonna talk about the stages of plant life cycle in detail. And then this includes with a diagram. This was by studyread.com. So studyread.com. So feel free to go ahead, check out the site because we're gonna go into it, right? The 6 stages of the plant life cycle: seed stage, germination, growth, flowering stage, pollination, reproductive stage, fruit stage, seed dispersal stage. So remember, we're going to keep in mind that we are specifically talking about planting, which means I'm going to go back to this tab real quick. To put into the ground, for growth, to furnish with plants, to set in the mind, to establish. And we're going to really talk about it. Let's get into it. The seed stage, right? The seed stage, first cycle, first stage in the cycle, contains the miniature plant inside of the form of an embryo. So think of it like this: a seed can be something as simple as a prophecy, or as simple as an encouragement, as simple as an instruction to ultimately help you grow to where it is you want to go. A vision, someone who sees and discerns and has the wisdom to see beyond what you can physically see in that moment because they have a spiritual eye, for an example. So a seed could be, for an example, when I was like in my teens, not like late teens, I remember it being prophesied that I was a generational curse breaker. I didn't fully understand it, but I received it and I accepted it. And I really started to understand it way later when God brought it back to my remembrance, that moment during that worship service. And I mean, I was like, okay, God, I see you. And from that point on, I started to be more aware of all of the things that I was trying to, in fact, uproot, meaning unlearn, meaning to destroy, so that I can build the way that God wants me to build, right? Because that means if you are, excuse me, I'm speaking so quickly. If you are a generational curse breaker, then that means you literally cannot do a lot of the same things that came before you. You have to do it differently. That is part of your calling, right? And so you want to make sure that you do that. So that seed, right? Generational curse breaker, right? Germination: as the seed falls on the ground, the seed needs a suitable temperature and moisture to start the germination process. What does that mean? That means if someone says something to you or someone plants a seed in you, that means you need to be able to be fertile ground so that you can actually have the right temperature for that seed in order to protect it, in order to help cultivate so that it can germ. All right. Does that make sense, y'all? Then we're going to go to the growth stage. There's a whole lot of stuff in here. And I think this is good because when you start to think about the germination, this is where you protect it. Under suitable conditions, seed starts absorbing moisture and water, resulting in the swelling of the seed. The swelling leads to the rupture of the seed coat, and the hypocotyl emerges out of the seed to transform into the stem, right? Because this is how you start to get roots, right? Because you're consistently working on yourself. You're adhering to that seed and you are nurturing it. You are nurturing it. You are nurturing it. Then you got the growth stage, because in order to sustain the various developmental changes in the body of that seed, the plant produces food. So when you plant, or when someone plants in you, right, you are the vessel, you are the soil. And when you take care of it, right, and when you accept that seed, what happens is it allows it to actually grow. So now we're past the germination stage. Now you're starting to see a little bit of fruit based upon the things that you have been taking care of, i.e., that seed, and you've been nurturing it with sunlight. That sunlight. Okay, so we're talking about generational curse breaking, right? That sunlight could be, the right knowledge, the water. The water is, staying in prayer and staying in worship, right? And then what's the other thing? Sunlight, water, and I feel like there's something else that plants need, but more food, right? More food, right? Whatever whatever food or the pollination that the bees come with, that can be a word of encouragement, because the journey is not going to be easy. It takes some time, but as you continuously nurture it and you cultivate it, what happens is it'll continuously develop and grow. And you'll start to see with every action, every step that you take one step at a time, that you're going to start to see some growth. And that's what you want. Photosynthesis, A, and then it's going to start to release oxygen. How beautiful is that? Okay, come on with it. Oxygen, you'll be able to breathe better. Pollination stage. Okay, I was literally just talking about that. So where the plants release pollen grains to reach the female parts of the flowers, and the bees help with that. Bees can be angels, right? Let's say bees are angels when it comes to, say, that seed is you are a generational curse breaker. That is a form of encouragement. That is a form of protection. That is a form of prayer. That is a form of somebody helping you in a moment because they know that you need some help and they're extending out a hand, right? That's what the pollination is. Come on with it, because they see the purpose on the inside of you. They see the potential that you are and who you're becoming, and they're there for you during the good and the bad and the ugly. And they still pour into you because they love you. Come on, man. Come on, pollinators. Then you got the reproduction stage. The flower is the sexually reproductive part of the mature plant. The complete flower forms within the early bud on the stem. So, right, if you've ever seen a flower grow, what you'll see is it'll bloom, and then on the inside another seed, and it'll just keep going, it'll keep going. That is consistently, that is literally being fruitful and multiplying your fruit, right? Or in business they would say that is 7 streams plus of income. You have one gift or you have multiple gifts, and God shows you multiple ways on how it can continuously produce and produce and produce. And so you got to build the system, you got to build the marketing, you got to build the whole entire process for one, so that it can continuously reinvest in the next stems and the next seeds and keep planting and keep producing that fruit. When it comes to generational curse breaking, okay, now you understand, you've healed. Now you know how you can share the right information with the next person that you recognize is going through something that you've already gone through. Boom, you just planted another seed. Come on with it. Excuse me, y'all, I'm excited. And I'm just a touch sleepy, but I'm excited because this is good. And then we've got the seed dispersal stage. The seed dispersal stage is the final stage of the plant's life cycle. By the way, I did not read all of this, so I'm just, tapped into the spirit here. Seed dispersal is the final stage of the plant's life cycle. The seeds separate from the parent plant and are spread in the atmosphere by wind, animals, or the water current. The seed gets dispersed into distant positions where they eventually start the plant's life cycle in new soil. So think of it this way. Once you've built up, in business wise, once you've built up your brand, right? And it has ripple affected so much to where you literally don't have to say anything anymore at all. That is the seed dispersal stage. That is Coca-Cola. Everybody knows what Coca-Cola is because it's been established so well. Because remember, to plant is literally to set in the mind, to establish, right? To put into the ground for growth, to furnish with plants. So in order to be an established brand, you have to put yourself out there and market yourself to where you can go to sleep and you can wake up and still make income, still gain some leads, still gain more traction and traction, leads, yeah, income, et cetera, more eyes. You know why? Because you've done the work, you've put in the efforts, you've watered your seed, you've nurtured it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you've repeated that whole entire system over and over again because it's a discipline, and discipline plus consistency actually equals success. So that is what you really want to do when it comes to, as I was saying, generational curse breaking, right? So now that's how do you help other people who are generational curse breakers, right? You literally create an entire course or you create a workshop that helps people. You record that sucker, and then now you have something that can help people get the basics, get the fundamentals, get the things that they need, and the information, the resources, the tools, so that they can too be the generational curse breaker in their family. Come on with it. Okay, so now we're going to get right on into uprooting. I know I'm going fast today, but I know you guys are rocking with me, so I'm excited about that. So we are talking about uprooting, to destroy, to tear down, right? Now, how do you destroy something without it being extremely harmful? One, compassion. Two, making sure there's that level of comprehension, empathy, right? making sure you have the right words, because sometimes when it comes to the growth of you, you need to make sure that you are in fact uprooting things, places, people, even your own habits that are hindering you from being able to fully blossom. Do you understand what I'm saying? So a weed, right? A weed that is hindering a flower from growing cannot stay there, because that flower is trying to grow and it will not be able to grow. It may have taken root, but that root and that seed can die if those weeds aren't taken care of. For an example, the mint plant. If you guys have ever seen a mint plant, I've seen one in real life. I think my great grandmother planted it. We don't know. It goes that far back, you guys, right? The mint takes over the yard every single year. And I mean, my grandmother has tried for many years, decades on end, to uproot the mint plant. But guess what? Because that soil, in fact, had the mint plant, it's not going to happen. Every season, it always pops up more mint, more mint, more mint. The vegetation all throughout, you see peppers, you'll see some tomatoes, you'll see other lemon balm and other herbs and everything like that. But guess what's all around it? Mint, because that weed, or weed, quote unquote, is there. And so, guess what? Yes, the vegetables may still prosper, may still grow, but there's more. There's a more abundance that it could reach if that mint wasn't there. So that means there's a growth cap to those seeds and to those vegetables. And then sometimes, if it's a really bad type of weed, where it hinders the growth like entirely, you're not going to be able to grow. Your business won't be able to grow. Why? Because maybe that weed is a person, maybe it's a partnership, maybe that weed is the way, the knowledge that you took, because it really wasn't for you and it's not aligned to the purpose that God has for you. Come on, what you got to start thinking about these things. You got to get the right information, yes, but you also do want to pay attention to the messenger. And I appreciate the loved ones in my life who remind me of things like that, because that is important. It has to align, right? And so when you start to think about stuff like that, I would love to encourage everyone to reflect on what it is they're listening to, what it is they have in their life, what seeds they have been nurturing, and they need to address and reflect on what seeds and what weeds are in their lives, including their own habits. Because sometimes the weed that needs to be uprooted is ourselves. That is a fact. So we need to make sure that we could take care of ourselves, and we got to be honest with ourselves. You know what? This is a bad habit. I can't be a generational curse breaker and do everything that the generations before me did. That means I have to change those things. That means I need to uproot it, unlearn it, and let it go, and then learn the correct way so that I can move forward, and move forward in a way that's sustainable for future generations. And baby, that is fact, man. Woo, we did this joint. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm excited. Let me know of your thoughts, because you know what? I love this one. And I'm working on, making sure to, honor the time. I want to honor your time. And yeah, let me know. All right.